Internet, welcome back. Got another installment of the Fusion feed, and we'll show you how that got back into the car. All right, back in town, and I think first order of business, since we got all these pieces, I'm gonna throw those headers on. So that should be pretty fun. Also, the consensus was that the red caps looked the best. You guys never did get a look at the black wheels, so I think we're going to pair the gold ones with the white letters. I do have teal inserts as well that variant gave me, so I think the gold is going to go with the black. Those are actually going to end up on the front, so I'll just have to swap those caps because I do have 30 offset for the front. These are 40 offset, and it's because the Mustang track width is, I think, about 1.5 inches wider than stock Fusion track width on each side. So I think the gold is really going to pop with the black. Boom. Yeah, that looks pretty proper. Well, these came in a little early for all the wheels. These are going to be my burners. I'm going to try these out. Couldn't get my go-to triangles or Kendas, so, but my conundrum now is I really need to fix this car over here. Still has a check engine light. So I do this or put tires on. I think you know the answer to that, but we'll just skip because I'm not going to show you what's going on with that car. So. Awesome, both headers and motor mount brackets are on. So since the Wednesday and work night, I'm probably gonna call it quits there. Got those mounted and gonna mount the other two, I think, before I call it quits for today. I'm thinking, what a wussy, what's a work night? Well, in order to even just think about bolting all that flywheel and stuff up, I do need to get on the hoist. So I think I'll probably be doing that in a couple of days on the weekend when I got all day to juicy fruit around with this thing. Right, tires mounted, headers on, calling it quits for another day. That is about as good as it's gonna get and as far as I can get with the wiring until we drop the drivetrain in. I still have the Cortex controller kind of loose. I want to see where that connector ends up after it's actually hooked up to the rack. So I really want to make anything permanent. I'll just end up probably double side taping the unit to the inside of the firewall. So yeah. Switch panel, I remember where all the wires go, so it's pretty much all wired and ready for its drivetrain again. Oof. All right, the day has come. It's time to get this drivetrain back in the Fusion. Okay, engine's up. Now I can install the flywheel and clutch. It'll be right there. I may or may not have made a mistake. I forgot to extend the arm out, but considering the fact that there is nothing in the front of this car, I think I'll be okay. I actually make it a little more stable on the hoist, so worst case, gotta go get a tire, pull it out. Got my tools. Oh shit. Crankshaft while I tighten up the flywheel bolts. I think. Almost halfway there.
Very exciting project. Super comfortable.
Alright, so I'm going to be putting the clutch on, and in order to do that correctly, you need your clutch alignment tool. This is a 26 spline, so you have to, I only have 2 hands, so this will go on here, but it'll get bolted on with the pressure plate, and then it'll get sandwiched between the flywheel and the pressure plate. That hurts. And then when it's, you don't tighten it first, and then you slip this through, and this will align it to the crankshaft so that when you go to install the transmission, this simulates the input shaft on the transmission. And cut. What am I doing now? Putting Loctite on these pressure plate bolts, because I don't want these things coming out at 7,000 RPM. Pins here, I gotta line up, and I think I know where they go. So they should actually hold it before I get it bolted in, so it actually might not be a struggle. If I remember where they went. So, get some there. Boom. I'm gonna get a bolt in there, just for safety. And then I can use the clutch alignment tool to line everything up while I tighten the bolts.
Flexing.
I'm not. Weird flex. We're not putting that in there. Doesn't even move. So I got these all evenly tightened down while the clutch alignment tool was in there. So you can see it just slides in there. I'm ready to torque it. So I got the subframe up from underneath the car and starting to put the motor mounts in. And as you can see, the Coyote and TR6060 are back mated and ready to be put back in. Let's do this thing. So you're sitting a little crooked, but there's plenty of room between those strut towers. I think we'll have no issues, but we got cracks.
Benny, are we doing fusion things today?
We're always doing fusion things. Decided to install the electric rack in here before I put it up there because it might be easier to access the bolts out here than when it's hooked up to the engine. So I got the rack in, and now I can get it lifted under the motor to get the motor mounts bolted to the motor mount brackets, and then after that they're secured to the engine. I can put the bolts through the subframe to get it bolted to the brackets on the frame rail that we made a long time ago, and then should be able to get rid of the hoist, and it should be in there, and then I'll probably go get lunch.
Look at those muscles.
So, got the motor mounts bolted to the motor mount brackets, and now I can lift the hoist to align the bolt holes for the subframe, and then it'll be in by itself without a hoist. Now it's happening. Got the bolts and the spacers. Get this thing locked in. Kind of use bolts as guides. Put these on first. Smart person.
What do you need a spacers for?
Positioning of the. I don't know, it's been such a long time. We're really doing it, Harry. Just a little bit of a mic. Touching threads. Alright, so the front ones are in. Now I can put the back mounting spacers and bolts in the subframe. Alright, it's loose. It's in there. Get this hoist out of the way. We'll get some. Anyway, a couple hours after lunch, and engine's been in. Got the front suspension bolted in, almost for good. I need some real Heim spacers because the Ace Hardware specials are kind of binding at the near full lock, so I'll get that dialed in. Hopefully Amazon has that item. The wiring harness is like 85% plugged into the engine. I could bolt on the intake manifold. Rack is hooked up, alternator's hooked up, and just cruising along. Finally, I can see if the full torque drive shaft from obviously full torque drive shafts will fit. I gave them the measurements myself, so we'll see how that goes. So reporting from the bottom of the Fusion, it does fit. I just can't put it in there because the bolts they gave me are supposed to be fine thread for the rear flange. Yeah. And they're too small for the front transmission flange, but it did fit really well. And the tunnel I made, what was that, over a year ago? No, a little less than a year ago, does clear, so happy. That wraps it up, and this is where we're currently at now. Got some wheels kind of mocked up and just cruising along. Everything's coming along pretty well. I did have one little bug with my shifter that I was really proud of when it worked when I first built the trans tunnel, but now it's not lining up perfect, so just gotta do little mods of that. And other than that, we're in good shape. So stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't.